Right, like we told you earlier, we have an array of issues we will be looking at this morning, talking about the food crisis, as well as the president's visit to Qatar, where he made some very bold statements, and there has been divergent reactions to some of the things he said. But first, let's begin with the story. The Nigerian Police Force has reiterated its ban on the use of point-of-sale terminal machines and other mobile money transaction devices within police stations and other police facilities across the country. The ban follows a public outcry on alleged illegal and illicit transactions through point-of-sale machine operators and connivance with certain police operatives. Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetokun urged all officers and personnel to comply with this directive without exception, and warns that any police officer or POS operator found contravening this order or conniving to conduct illicit financial transaction will face appropriate disciplinary and criminal action. And it is reported that he went ahead to say that this is to forestall perceived corruption practices or corrupt practices and maintain discipline within the force, as well as preserve the integrity and security of police operations. Quite interesting, I must say. It's a good development, but compliance is my concern.
Absolutely, especially when it's not the first time an order like this will be made, specifically banning POS operations within police formations. This is not the first time. And according to Muyiwa Adejobi, speaking for the police force, he said there were some powers perhaps within, he didn't say, but he said there was a conspiracy of silence, and that some people said, no, let it not be, because these are people's means of livelihoods. So banning them from police formations, that was why it didn't work out then, and that now he hopes that, or he's warning that this time around they are serious, and anyone caught in those illicit actions will be brought to book. It remains to be seen, because it's really an aberration having a business center, not just
in the premises.
Business, that particular business. What is it for? What are you trying to facilitate payment of money for? And some people are insinuating that perhaps it's to cover the tracks of police officers who are the ones demanding that such payments like this be made. So, so it's really suspect, and like you have said, it's also to curb the illicit activities, that
corruption, corrupt practices.
Yes, corrupt practices, and you never can tell what exactly one is paying for. It can go, over and beyond, and so this is something that really must be checked. And we hope this time around, everybody.
What came to mind while you were speaking was if those who were the conspiracy of silence, those who were pushing that and who were, so the part that he mentioned, if they have been flushed out of the system.
They are still there.
They are still within the system, and we will allow this process work as it is, because it seems in every sector there are those powers that be that do not want some certain things to work
out.
Policies being put in place by government, and people to oversee those sectors are finding it difficult, so to speak. So if those people are still present and he knows them, then perhaps he needs to begin to speak, mention name and shame, and so that we know that, okay, you are trying to put measures in place, but there are those who are not allowing it to work. So Nigerians will not hold you to account, because at the end of the day, he is the face of the police force, and it is him we are going to hold to account if things are not working out. Yeah. So he needs to begin to fish out these persons. He may not name and shame, the decision is his, but he needs to find out who these persons are, and they can be brought to book at the end of the day.
Because it's, to the credit of the police force, they have come down hard on certain officers. We've seen how many of them have been, the word in my head is derailed, but that's not what I'm looking for, how they've been penalized, sent out of the force and all of that. So this is also going to be a good opportunity for them to, teach people, give them, use them as scapegoats. If one person is found, if there are still formations where these illicit actions or activities are still being taking place, they should call them out and punish whoever needs to be punished. If the DPO has to go down for it, and then so be it, so that this will send a message across all the formations in the country that the police boss means business, because he has spoken now, and it's like they say, obey the last command, and that is, this is being stressed now.
Right, and we must also look at this whole matter. It boils down to the individual. What moral values do you have, and what are you trying to uphold? So, Nigerians, as it is often said, they always find a way to beat the system. But then, at the end of the day, it boils back to you deciding what moral values you have and want to uphold at the end of the day. So it's beyond asking them to comply. The individuals, the police officers, know they have a responsibility on their hands as it is. What are you leaving on the footprints of time? What are you leaving on the sands of time that people will remember you for? It is not just about you, but also about, maybe I'm going too far now, about the generations after you, because you know how people react to these things. But again, what are you leaving on the sands of time? We need to begin to look critically at ourselves as individuals, not just leaving things to the responsibility of those at the helm of affairs. You also are the helm of affairs in your life as it is, so you should begin to take responsibility. And then the police force, on the other hand, should begin to look at the welfare package of these persons. Yes, some persons will say that they are being pushed to do these things because the welfare package is not necessarily taking them home and taking care of their responsibilities as it is, and so they find themselves engaging in such corrupt practices to, meet up with certain demands. But perhaps the police do have to look at those sides. This is trying to give a 360 approach to this matter of trying to curb corrupt practices and ensure integrity in the police force.
I totally agree, because what you said, even though you have already prepared yourself that it sounds like the perfect arrangement, it sounds ideal, but then this is the police unit, and as a police force, you should really be above board, above corruption and the tendencies. And while one is not exactly saying now, even though the general populace may say, okay, the police this is just a means of corruption, but the fact that it could be a means for corruption is also something that, they must address.
Absolutely.
And like you have said, it's a systemic thing. It's a whole policy change that is needed.
Absolutely. We'll leave it here now and quickly bring you the news update.